Iron Cross man-to-man combat East Front. Playing scenario 3 with infantry, a mortar on the Russian side, and two tanks on the German side. Battle for two hills. This is one hill over here, and there's another hill off the screen here. Battle for these two hills. Germans are trying to clear those two small knolls of the Russians, of the Soviets. I wanted to pause here and go through some details of what happened here, because the Russians got a very lucky auto kill. So let me go through, talk about this. Russian player turn. So Russian side are phasing the brown units there. It's the 6th phase of the Russian player turn on game turn 2. Phase 6 is the defensive fire phase. I'm sorry, man. Someday I'll get this all down. It's moving fire phase. So again, moving fire phase, very important. Phasing player, Russians here, may attempt to fire any of his normal status units. Units that have already fired in his player turn may not fire in this phase. Units that have already fired in this player turn may not fire in this phase. So let me show you the example here. I actually wanted the Russians here to fire at the Germans here in the open again, but when I pick it up, this is my reminder that they have fired in phase 2, which is the previous support fire phase, which would be this game turn. So that's my reminder that they're not eligible to fire, even though I wanted to have them attack this stack again. But they've already fired this turn. So this is all happening all at the same time. So in a sense, that attack is happening now too. Okay. Infantry and the AFEs, which have moved, may fire, but with a penalty modifier. No Russians have moved, but if they had any of my movement reminder markers on them, they could still fire, but with a penalty. And then crew served weapons that have moved may not fire at all. Okay, so that's the moving fire phase, the sixth phase of the player turn. All right, so then I look for another opportunity. This is already the results, okay. So I look to this stack, 1 AT gun, 1 soldier up, 1 soldier down. They're also in a 1 hex building. So then I choose to have them fire on the Germans who are crawling forward in the clear here. This is the attack that I considered doing earlier, but was not a legal attack at all, by the way. That my discussion before was completely off track. I don't think the riflemen were eligible to attack at all earlier, but they are eligible to attack here. So I announced the attack. They're firing at the 3 Germans here. Again, they're all down in the clear here. Okay. They've moved in the 4th phase, which means they've moved in the reaction movement phase of this player turn. Just to keep that in mind. Okay, so announce the attack, determine loss. It's completely open. There's nothing between them at all. Attempt observation. They rolled low. I think they rolled a 5 here. I think this was the observation die roll. They rolled a 5. They would have had very good modifiers anyways. It's only 40 meters away. They are down, but otherwise... actually, why do I keep saying that? It's still fairly good, but it's still a 9 or... They need to roll a 9 or less. So actually, that's not quite the automatic success I was thinking. Okay, but anyways, they rolled low enough easily. So they did observe, so I put out the D observation markers to remind me that when it's all over, I have the... Oh, and this is also the important thing. I'm now quite certain that individual units sight, which is funny. I wonder what I do with crews, but anyways, I've got the AT gun and the 2 riflemen. AT gun's not taking part in this attack at all. They're in the hex, but they're not involved here. So I've got my 2 riflemen. I've got Mikoyan, who's a PC-8 rifleman, and then I've got Cherniak, and I've got Cherniak, rifleman who's down, but a very low, very unreliable rifleman with a PC of 5. So I'm thinking, this again is a little tactical detail, I think. I was thinking Cherniak, not because he's a low PC soldier, but because he is down. I'll have the soldier that's down do the observation, because basically Cherniak is down observing, but will also possibly fire. He doesn't pass his PC check, so he doesn't actually fire, although he's treated as having fire for game purposes, but not rolling for his attack. Anyways, I thought that have the soldier who's down do the spotting, because then he's in a more defensive position to keep his observation going. Okay, if I understand that correctly. If the target hex was successfully observed on a previous player turn and neither the observer, and that's singular, the observer nor the units, plural, in the target hex have moved since the observation -1. So that does lead me to believe that Cherniak, having successfully observed, yeah, I want him to stay down because he's observed. So he may fire, but he's basically observing for the others in his hex, basically. Okay, so there was that little tactical detail. Instead of having the better rifleman do the observing. Okay. So they successfully observe. Now we go back to PCs to fire. Mikoyan passes, but Cherniak does not. I think those are these 2 rolls. 8 when Mikoyan has an 8, so equal to or less, and then 9 for Cherniak, who has a 5 PC, not even close. So even though they will both be marked as fired this phase, only Mikoyan is going to be rolled for. Now, no, I'm sorry, these are not the rolls. These are the rolls for the targets, actually. So whatever the PC rolls, Mikoyan passes, Cherniak didn't. So now we go to total and modified firepower. I think it's just straight 4 for Mikoyan, as opposed to 7 if they were both firing. So I think it's 4. Determine number of dice required. Number of dice is 1 for clear terrain, plus 1 because the targets are down. Well, actually, I need to start doing that target by target. They are all down, but I shouldn't be saying it that way. So anyways, so it's 2 dice. So Russian side rolls the first 8. Now I'll pick up and look at our... Well, actually, I need a 4 or less to have an effect, right? So this was the roll for lore on top. Attack, no effect. Deedle, next in line. Russians roll a 9, not even close to getting 4 or less for an effect. Finally, Kluja here. Kluja. The Russians roll Snake Eyes. If you roll more than 1 die and all of the dice come up 1, that's an auto kill, no matter what the firepower was. So we have our first... Actually, I believe this is my first... Well, I don't remember having one before, so I think this is my first auto kill. Well, yeah. Anyways, this is a straight up auto kill. Chances would have been very low. Not very low. Chances would have been low. They would have got effect otherwise, but the fact that they got the auto kill means that we have our second German casualty and the first infantryman, as opposed to the first casualty was the crewman for the medium machine gun. Now we have our first rifleman down, basically a lucky Russian shot. Kluja is down, out of the fight completely, casualty, and there we go. Oh, and then now I'm going to clean it up, put these guys back. They still moved in 4, they're still observed.